Hello, everyone. Gosh, I love that countdown so much. I'm glad I discovered it. It's honestly, it's not mine. I didn't make it. But anyway, welcome to Serious and Sober. Today, our super special guest is Angelica Reid. You may recognize her name because I shared her picture a few days ago. Why did I do that? Well, it was from Make Karen Great Again. That's right. We are co-stars, but we're not going to be talking about ourselves or our project. Well, we are, because we are. But our focus today is we are going to be exploring tokenism and in crossing boundaries in satirical comedy. Because we're in a satire show together. I'm funny. Anyway, I'm going to get her in here and we can begin. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. Just tired. Been doing a lot of stuff all day.
Yeah.
But here I am. I'm still here.
Yeah, I feel that. Wednesdays are my, because I do the show on Wednesdays, I try to keep the day clear. So then because the day is clear, I then fill it with things to do to keep myself not busy, you know?
Yeah, I get that. And Wednesdays, when you asked me, I was like, I should be fine. I should be fine. It's like right after class, I get to eat supper, all that type of stuff. But then I had an extra meeting. And I was like, oh, this was a mistake. I should have told my other meeting to put it somewhere else. And I was staying up all night writing a script. And I was like, oh, I should have went to bed early. But it's okay. I'm here. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Just try my best.
All we can do is our best.
That's all I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for braving all of your technical difficulties and making it to the show. That's amazing. For those who may have not noticed, we might have started a little bit of a 40-minute late start time.
I'm sorry.
It's totally fine. Like, honestly, I feel like if I was a more direct producer, I may have been like, no, we're just gonna shoot it like this, and then we would have started at like 8:10 instead. But I didn't want you to be stressed, and honestly, it gave me time to use the washroom.
Yeah, it gave me time to figure out what's wrong with my computer, then for me not to use my computer. So it was just a new application. I'm really sorry. I thought it would be compatible, then it wasn't, then I had to restart everything. Then I didn't like how the camera made me look, and I was like, Rae, you know what? I'm going to try it on my computer again. Then it didn't work, and I was like, you know what? I gotta keep going. I already made you guys late as is, or you all as late.
Yeah,
already.
It is what it is, and what it is over with.
Yeah, we're here,
and we're queer, I assume.
And it's a win.
It's like everyone's queer nowadays.
I guess. Anyway. I don't
know. Yeah, so not to generalize. Speaking of generalizations, let's get into our topic. So for today's game, we are just going to be playing our classic 20 questions. I have 12 questions because it's not 20 questions. Sorry, but that is more for time management than anything, and definitely not because I only had 12 questions, because good golly, I have a lot to say. So, as tradition, I will show off my rainbow dice.
So good. So
nice. I love these dice so much. I
look like it's made out of pure bismuth.
Oh, hell yeah. It's heavy. Like, these die are a weapon.
Oh, dense. Dense.
I love them so much. They were a gift. I have so many sets of dice, and I've never bought a set before. People just go like, oh, you play D&D here, but like my first set was given to me before I'd played the first time. So then it's just become like a cycle. Someone was just like, oh, I know you want to play, so I'll get you these really cool rainbow dice because I know you like rainbows. And I was just like, okay. Now I have to play.
Now I have to play. I've been wanting to play too. I had a group of friends. We were going to play it. We played it once, and then it fell through because like nobody wanted to go through the entire rules. And I was like, come on, guys, like we can play this. I can totally do it. No, in high school we're all busy, and by we I mean I, and I couldn't do the two. I was like, oh. And then after that, I was just like, hopefully I meet someone who can play so that I can like learn how to play like D&D, Magic, all those type of things. I'm like, oh, it's okay one day, but I'm always busy. So it's like, just kidding.
Yeah. The internet is a great place to network and meet people. Same with like clubs and stuff. Like I'm in so many just like social Facebook groups, like some for board games, some for just like gay shit and just various things. And I make online friends, and it's great. I also get in arguments with people on the internet a lot.
Well, yeah, that's the place for arguments.
Yeah. I received I won't say who forwarded it to me, but I received an anti-vax video today. And it was just like, it was like, you know, when you're not sure how far gone things are, and you're kind of like in denial of it. That's where I was just like, oh no, I'm sure they're not that bad. I don't know.
Maybe give them like the benefit of the doubt. Of just
they're just like scared and they're unsure. And then I saw this video and I was like, this is fear mongering bullshit. And I was just mad. Like I was just like,
oh my gosh.
And my favorite part about it though was it started with always make sure you do your own research. And here, I'm going to show you how to do it. And then they show you their websites with their definitions. And I'm just like, all of this is wrong. Like just everything in this video was incorrect. And like they were like, this is what this big word means. They use big words, so you skip them, but don't skip them, Google them. And then they do the search on their fake website that comes up, and it was like, I'm sorry, I don't remember the word, but it was like the chemical, it was so funny. It was, you can tell this is a fresh rant that I haven't had out loud yet. Right?
That's fair. Okay.
I'm just like, I've been boiling this all day, and I'm just like, we'll get to the show after this. After this. So that's it was funny. It was like my friend who's a nurse shared this, and it's like this woman who's just like, yeah, I don't know like what this is, and it's like the chemical equation, and she's like, I don't know what that word is, and I'm like, you clearly are not a nurse if you don't even know the term for chemical equation.
Like, what? Like, okay.
And like the fact that she was calling it the COVID-19 vaccine. And I'm just like, Google the title and it doesn't come up.
Oh, because it
doesn't exist. Oh, my head. Like it was just it was a thing, Angelica. Like it was a thing. I was just in shock, and I was just like,
imagine looking stuff up on your own website and then saying you have to do your own research. It's like, yeah, more like create your own research.
Oh, it was so bad. Like I've seen things like this. Like I've seen jokes about it, and I just never took it seriously.
Yeah.
Like it was just like about like it literally it was like the like stem cells, and then the definition was a male fetus.
That's not a stem cell.
And then it went into how they alter your DNA and how they are inputting artificial intelligence into your body.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just like,
okay,
come on.
Like, you know what? They can have that one. Keep it. Like, sure. Like, what am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to say you're wrong? I can say you're wrong till you're blue in the face, but the fact that you've put so much thought and so much work into this, I'm not even going to discredit you. I'm be like, you know what? Yes. What are you going to do? Not take the vaccine. Okay.
Like, that's like good luck being allowed to go back to work. Like, I don't know.
Like, geez. Like vaccines are always going to be like a weird topic. And like for some people, like you have like the 0 to 100 type of stuff. I sit in like that weird like middle ground where it's like, okay, like I like personally, only because like how vaccines affect me and my family, we don't take it every year because like it actually gets my dad sick, and it makes it like gets me sick, and like I can't use my arm for a little bit. But like the fact that it doesn't affect like other people like that, it's like, okay, you can take it. I don't personally, because like I've never had the flu, I've never been sick. But just because I've never been sick, I've never had the flu, I'm gonna go around saying like, yep, no vaccines. Never take it ever. Like I'm not gonna do that and be like, oh yeah, it's because of the chemicals, because of this. It's like, okay, no, I don't think you need to take a science class to like know that like maybe going around saying like, oh well, artificial intelligence and it alters DNA. Sweet pea, we haven't been able to alter DNA that easily yet. Like it's not like a thing of like eat this pill and you'll, I don't know, never get cancer because it like rips your genes apart. I don't know. And a stem cell is a fetus. Do they know what stem cells are? Like
clearly not. Male fetus.
It's the male, and the fact that it's the male fetus. I'm so glad that they specified, because I was getting confused. I was like, wait, so it's the male one? Okay. Then like screw me, I guess. Like, am I even a stem cell?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it said white male, and I just blocked that out.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Like, you know, it's like the same kind of circle that are actually wearing the mega hats.
Yeah.
Oh,
it'd be pretty funny though. I'd be like, wow, okay, so like, where do you think stem cells come from? Like, are you going to go as far as to say like the A word? That's where they get it from? Okay, like no one just has male fetuses so laying around and then saying like, well, that's why we can't cure anything because we let them grow up. Like, no, like, like that's not the case. Oh, that's so funny. Like, it could even be a little bit believable. Like, it could get you sick. Like, a vaccine can get you sick. It's very true. It happens. I've seen it. You want to push that? Okay. Or maybe the vaccine makes you more prone to dehydration. I don't know. Sure. Like, that's everything. But to go so far and like change definitions and be like, it's the artificial intelligence. Okay. Well, tell me where I can get that vaccine so I could put it into my phone and my computer so that I can work faster. Thank you. Give it to the physicists who can figure out what dark matter is, please, for my sake, because you're saying a lot of stuff that I don't know, and I'd like to get my hands on a vaccine that gives me artificial intelligence to be like big brain or something. Like,
right? I'm just like,
oh my god,
that bad? Like, I'm totally like on the right side of the robot war. Like, as soon as Google and Amazon take over the world and infect us with their microchips, like this is one of those true things that sound like I made up. I have a feeling that I play a very important role in the robot war. Like, I'm talking like Sarah or John Connor, undetermined. But there was this period of time where I kept picking up phone calls, and like no one I've told the story to has ever been like, oh, that happened to me. But it was like this, like literally I picked up my personal cell phone, a home phone, my boyfriend's phone, my boyfriend's dad's phone. And I received the same thing of, I answered the phone, and like every time it was like a different series of like keyboard smash on the caller ID, and I answer and I go, hello. And then you hear like, please. And then it would hang up. Or it would go, help.
That out.
I got please and I got help. And I was just like, I don't know what to do.
That's terrifying.
Help.
Yeah, like, no. I don't know. On different phones, that's terrifying. You should call a provider, call the police. I don't know.
Like, that's just a thing that happened.
hey, like robot wars are really weird. I have my own personal opinions on like technology and stuff. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get to that point where everyone's like, it's fine, and then it's not fine. Hopefully I'm not around, or like I don't have to participate. Like go live in the clouds somewhere, just being like, have fun. Good luck. I saw this coming. Just being like, no, I don't mess with robots.
Yeah, I'm gonna
robots
be
come from somewhere.
Give me the artificial heart, and
I'll go as far as like bionic like limbs.
Yeah, and
that's it. Anything else? No thanks.
Keep the brain and the personality. Maybe like the artistic hand. I don't know. I have a pretty steady hand. I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
especially for someone with anxiety. Like, come on.
Or like left-handed. Doing art is like always a pain. Maybe they can teach me how. Maybe like the artificial hand can like draw hands for me, because drawing hands suck. Either that or like I just suck at drawing hands. Like it doesn't matter how many tutorials I watch. It's like, well,
hands are just those things. Like they're hard. The best hand I ever drew was on a dry erase board at work, because I was just really bored, and I traced my hand and then I drew in the details of it, and it was just like my hand drawing. So I was able to like look at it while I was drawing it.
That's cool.
And I was just like, yeah, this is great.
Never again.
Yeah, and then it was just gone forever. So fine.
Yeah, I've had rare moments of like nice hands, and then it's just gone. Like I think I have a picture somewhere on my wall where there's like a hand. Like that one's really nice. It's like one of like fists. Fists are fine. But as soon as like they're open or they're doing like something like, I guess, normal or weird or whatever, I cannot.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like that's what it is. There's no hands. That's why you'll see a lot of drawings without hands. Maybe the hands are in the pocket. Maybe like they're behind their head or something. Yeah, no. I don't mess with hands. They're so, you would think they're simple, but they're not. They're not simple at all. I don't care what anybody says. Like, oh, it's a little circle. You put the little line. No. Absolutely not. As soon as I get to that weird like crutch with the wrist and the thumb, you mess that up, everything's done. Like, if you can't make this transition whatsoever, don't do it. There you go. That's my PSA for the day. Yeah. Just master the thumb and the end right here. Once you get this part down on a hand, perfect. But if you can't get that down, it doesn't matter. Just put it down, get a drink, take a nap. So
yeah. Awesome. Oh, we just got a good comment about vaccines. So let's touch on this comment, and then we'll jump into the game, because I feel like we could just keep talking.
Sorry, right. I like talk a lot.
Yeah, like not a problem. You're on a talk show.
It's a talk show.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's whatever I call it. So vaccines get you sick because fever and runny nose is how your body fights infections. So like in your case, I would say that your family is likely sensitive to it and has it and experiences it in a more extreme way. So like how Bruce is saying, like the vaccine is a fake infection for like your body to spar with. I actually love this analogy. The point is that when or if you catch the real thing, you don't have something worse happen to you, like paralysis, permanent lung damage, or death. It's like getting bruises from sparring when learning martial arts and thinking that it's the same as getting stabbed in a real life or death fight. You can take the bruises in the fake fight, and it prepares you to like be able to handle the real fight.
Oh yeah, I totally get that. I'm not even like disapproving of like, why did this happen? No, I get that. I know why, that type of thing. It's just one of those things. It's weird because like, fun fact, I haven't gotten my flu shot in a bit because of time. But like I've never gotten it, and I've been fine, because like we look at it in the sense of like, hey, like drink your water, get your vitamin C, get your vitamin D, all that type of stuff. You have your flu shot, that type of thing. We don't get it like every year because like we don't. I think there was a reason. My mom said, like, my mom worked in the medical field for a little bit, and she gave a reason. She said it was fine. Like, we don't have to get it every year, especially since we're not prone to getting, like, nobody in my house has ever gotten the flu. And when they did, and by they, I mean my parents, they're older. They've been on this earth longer. So they've gotten it when they were younger because it was a different thing, or like it was just like a really bad experience or whatever. But yeah, I totally get that. Like, I know why. I'm not like confused or anything, but I feel like what Bruce said, like, a lot of people need to know, like, that's what it is. Like, it's not like some weird things, like, yeah, it's inside of you and dormant, it's going to activate at any point. It's like, that's not like, no, it's more like, it's like dogs, like when they go and sniff something and they're like, so like they bite at it and they just like play around with it, but then they meet it again, they know what to do. Like, they know, like, okay, that's a child, don't do that. Or they know that that's a tree, you could pee on that. Like, that type of stuff is just more of like like your body recognizing it, rather than it being like, I'm implanting a chip in you, you're welcome. Like, no. Like, your body will react to a chip so much faster than anything else, because it's like, if you make it organic, the body doesn't want it. It doesn't want it. It's going to want to cut your arm off. Something drastic. It's going to be like, what is this? If it's something artificial, it's not going to last. It's going to be like, what is this? And then your body's going to be like, it wants to get it out. It doesn't matter what system you put it in, unless you literally like implant it, type of thing, with surgically implant it. Like, it's not a thing. Unless technology has advanced a lot more than what school has told me, then that's terrifying. And an L. It's an L that we just all have to take. Like, just take it, man. But yeah, my dad's really sensitive when it comes to medication, like vaccines, like certain things like that. Not in the sense that he'll get sick, but it'll like affect him. Like, he'll like get a headache, or like he could take like one Tylenol and he's good, type of thing. But my mom, like, she is so tolerant to medicine that it's rude. Like, it's like, that she'll be like, no, I have to take like 3, and we're like, no, your liver cannot endure that. Like, and she's like, no, that's the only way my headache will go away. So it's like, it's funny. So like, I sit in the middle, where it's like, it depends on the medication and how my body wants to react, where it's like, it either won't react or react, but I'll never know which one. So if I'm like trying a new medication, the doctor's always like, okay, so just let me know how this goes. I was like, I'll let you know. If I'm like, we'll see where it goes. And like, at one point I got like an allergic reaction, but I got the allergic reaction, but it didn't like fix anything. Like, I couldn't feel it. I had to take more for it to like soothe like the pain. I got like something in my legs, which the doctors don't know what it was. I just had it. I call it like temporary cancer, because they were like lumps, like legit like bodies. And I was like, what is this? And nobody knows where it came from. Nobody knows why they were there and why they left. I'm just like, all I know is I couldn't walk for like 2 weeks. I was like, what's happening? But yeah, so like, I had to take more of whatever like they gave me, so that to ease the pain and the swelling, but I was getting a reaction from it. So like, I was sensitive to it, but insensitive. And I was like, I love being an offspring. Best of both worlds. Which I'm sure there's it's just like, I'm here for it. Let's go.
My goodness.
So
yeah. So welcome to the surprise lecture on vaccines, everyone.
You're welcome. We are not experts by no means. I maybe took 1 year of science and had a biology teacher be like, let me teach you guys about vaccines so you guys don't go out there becoming an anti-vaxxer and getting me mad. I was like,
amazing.
And she was like, and then so somebody brought up the fact of like, but that's a political opinion. She's like, science is not a political opinion. She got so upset. She was like, look, guys, look, I'm sorry. I didn't go to school for almost like 7 years for small kids to tell me, and people who have never taken science to tell me that biology and scientists are like lying. It's like, no, we have to go to school for this. Because she was a she's a biologist and in like virology, like bacteria and stuff like that. So like she's worked with these things, and she's like, guys, this is how a vaccine works. If anybody asks you, tell them I told you. And if they want to fight you, they have to fight me and the entire department. And it was like, oh, it's political. We can't talk political in the class. Like, well, it's science. Just because politics made it a science thing, it's not. It was so funny. She was so upset because like it was the beginning. It was the beginning of like I guess flu season, and they were talking about I think like the Ebola like vaccine and like how it was affecting, and like having one made in America versus one made somewhere else, and they all want to send it. And Africa's like, no, we can like deal with this on our own. Obviously, for historical trauma, they don't want vaccines from nobody else now. They're like, we're fine. Thank you for your consideration, but nah.
Yeah.
And so she was just explaining it, and I guess somebody brought up of like, well, are vaccines that like accurate? She's like, yes. And she even said, like, you don't have to take it every year. Not everybody has to take it every year. We suggest it because you're more prone at this time, blah, blah. It's like in the summer, you drink more water because your body's sweating. It's letting the water out. It's just like natural stuff. Use it at your discretion. But don't just full out have your opinion and then put it on someone else saying, like, vaccines aren't for me, so they're not for anybody else. Yeah. She's like, that's what gets me mad. It's like, I love this teacher.
Yeah, that's so good. Good teachers.
I know. It's so great. It sucks when people are like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. And they're like, I'm sorry. I didn't like, oh, sorry. It's not like I have a PhD. That means nothing, right?
Yeah.
They have to go through like ethics training and everything. Then for people to be like, I don't think so. I'd be so upset. Be like, aw. It's like when you try your best and you don't succeed. Just like on the side crying.
Yeah. And I think like a huge part in like the whole disruption in listening to science is a form of like educated classism, and people being like, oh, well, we know better because we have access to do that. We don't need your fancy degrees. And I think it's like that kind of mindset is almost poisoning people against the idea of being educated. Because like for myself, I went to school for nursing, didn't graduate, but I went to school for nursing. I'm in school for social work. Like I am not unintelligent. And so like I trust myself and I'm confident in the research that I can conduct because I have literally been taught how to do research.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'm very confident in calling bullshit on an anti-vax video, whereas like I don't know, I have relatives who like, not to like pick on anyone, but like who haven't been as educated as I am, who are the ones sharing those videos.
Yeah, and it's funny because like and the fact that like people are making it look like it's a socioeconomic thing rather than just like an overall common sense thing. Like for instance, like my parents, not to like call them out, whoops. Like they didn't go to university for these things. So like I have them, they taught me like everything I know. And then I have the opportunity to go to school and stuff like that. But the fact that like, even though my parents like don't have the education and stuff, they still have like the common sense of like, being able to research, being able to trust the people who do have the degrees. Like they're like, they might doubt certain things because they don't know. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know, you don't know. You're gonna doubt it if it sounds kind of weird. Like there are some concepts where it's like, what? But they still put that trust in the sense of like, like they still put in the work. It's as soon as that work is like manipulated in some way, shape, or form, that's when it becomes like an issue, right? Like doctors. I'm pretty sure everybody has that time where they're just like, oh, the doctors don't even know what they're talking about. Like I tell them this and they can't help me with that. It's like, well, it's a bit more complicating than that. It's not that they want to brush you off, or it's like, oh, well, all they want to do is throw drugs at me. That's a whole different situation. You want to have your opinion on that, fine. But like, start looking into pharmaceuticals. Start looking into like why that's a thing. It's a business. They have to do that, or like maybe like that's what they're there for. Like it's one of those things that it's it goes without saying that you should be drinking water. It goes without saying that you should be getting more sleep. So the doctor's not going to tell you those things because maybe that said doctor doesn't feel the need to, because it's like, well, everybody does this. And it's just like, maybe not. Maybe you should suggest this first, because like people don't have that, right? Yeah. So like to make it like, oh, well, I don't need a fancy degree. No, you don't. But like have a head on your shoulders at least to have the consideration to listen, right?
Yes.
Like these people with degrees, like I'm not talking about like any other degree. I'm only talking about like any like science-based degrees, right? Because like those are rigorous in their own right and affect people, and there's ethics behind it. It's like engineers. You're gonna go to an engineer, be like, yeah, no, I don't think that bridge is good. It's like the engineer will listen to you and be like, okay, well, like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't know. It doesn't look like a good thing of steel. It's like, it's because it's not steel, sir. Like, what? Like that type of thing. Like, not even having it in you to listen. I think that's the problem. You just want to, like, judge. Just being like, oh, well, they have a degree, so, like, that's all systematic, and they're only going to tell you what you're taught. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But at least have a chance to like sit down and like listen, because you might learn something from someone else who has a degree or doesn't have a degree. But to go full out and judge because whether they do or don't, that's when misconceptions happen. And it's just like, I don't need a degree to know that I shouldn't take a vaccine. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to tell you? I'm not going to tell you you're dumb. Like, like that's your opinion. You feel confident in that, and you don't want to listen to anybody who might have more information than you. Then who's gonna like have the energy to get worked up to tell you what you should do? Yeah. Like, no one's gonna do that unless it like it affects like other people, like you're hurting people. Then it's like, okay, then we'll step in. But if it's like a lifestyle thing and like you're set on not listening to anybody, you can't really do that. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's like, okay, have fun.
Yeah, I found myself getting so like frustrated when you reach that point in a conversation where you're just like, oh, you just don't want to learn. And that is like people do reach a point where they're just like where they consider themselves done, of just like with oh gosh, let's get into gender politics. I was told about chromosomes when I was in grade 8. Therefore,
not chromosomes.
Okay, like, oh God, know what? No, I'm not going to get into gender politics. Let's get into tokenism.
Tokenism.
All right. To start, what is tokenism?
I looked it up because you knocked over all my stuff. Sorry, I have like a Batman figurine and an Eeyore figurine, and they've been falling all day. Oh,
you have to show them to us now, though.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is Batman, Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, he's adorable. I know. I saw him, and I was like, I gotta get him. I wouldn't be a Batman fan if I didn't get him. And I also have this one, which my baby sister convinced me to get. He's adorable, adorably sad, and I put him beside Batman because, like, I don't know, they suit each other. I have like a whole thing. I collect them. It's not the biggest collection, but it's it's getting there. But as for tokenism, how I defined it, it's when you have to fill like a sort of quota. So you hire that quota just to fill it, but not to actually enhance anything. So for instance, you have to fill like, okay, well, we need like 20% like people of color on the job type of thing. So you hire 20%, you don't care about anything, and they're just there to fill that quota, not there to actually enhance anything. Like it's policies or anything. Yeah. That's how I called it. There we go.
Yeah. It's the illusion of equality and inclusion.
Yeah. There you go. That was nice. That was artistic. That was very literal.
That's okay. All right. So the game we are playing is not 20 questions because I only have 12, and we just went through one of them. Oops.
Oh, so 11 questions, guys.
Yeah, so now we're 11 questions
Guys,
in, and
girls, and peeps.
So we are going to go forward with some die rolling.
Die rolling.
Okay, and it landed on a weird side because why not?
It's like, well,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like adjusting my phone because it's standing in duct tape, if that makes sense. Like the roll, I like.
Oh, okay. I was picturing like you had like the loop fold up against something and you were just like sticking it.
No, that'd be chaotic. I have it like in the circle and like trying to charge my phone because apparently it doesn't believe in keeping a charge. Like, geez. There we go. I'm here. So if it looks like it's tipping, it's because it is.
Oh,
I'm just falling.
Bye.
Like, it's okay, guys. Oh.
All right. Are you ready for question number 2/5?
I am ready. Yes.
All right. What effect does tokenism have on media viewers?
Ooh. I think it has that like effect that you said, that illusion that like they're inclusive and it's like a safe space for like any type of person in that space because they are like filling that quota. They're just there because they have to, not because they're more welcomed there, if that makes sense. Or at least like in general sense, that's the illusion it gives, and that's usually why people call it tokenism, because it's just like, ooh, look at this shiny thing we have. And then you find out it's all grimy at the back and stuff like that. So it gives people the illusion that like it's a safe space, they're inclusive, they're open to everybody, when like that's not the case.
Yeah, and like through media consumption, like that is usually people's like first thought when it comes to tokenism is like just the token X. So that like that's including like the gay BFF.
Yeah.
Or like these the roles are always the sidekick or the BFF. So I'm going to jump into this next question instead of rolling because it's topical. Why is it less common to have a person of color in a lead role? And how does this impact consumers?
Oh, let's go. I love this question. I was just thinking about this. Why is it less common? Because industries, producers, I'm not even going to put the writers in this because, like, you know what? They never know sometimes. Like, they just kind of write in. They're like, well, it sounds nice. And they do a great job. But the people in power in those positions that can cast or whatever think that it's not palatable. Like, they don't think that anybody, the general public, can't relate. As soon as a race is put onto a character, they feel that there's a lot of context on it and a lot of baggage. So general audiences don't want to hear about it. They feel like, oh, as soon as a black character is cast as a lead role, it's like, well, they're black. They're the black this. So therefore, that must play a huge part. Therefore, it has nothing to do with me. When you can have a universal thing, and they could be black, or they could be part of LGBTQ. They could be part of they could be part of anything, and you could still relate. But people in power don't think that people want to hear it, and like because they do this, it puts a huge box. Like boxes are good in their own ways. Like sometimes keep structure, whatever. But in those ways, it's not. Because then it makes it seem like, yes, you can only have the black best friend. You can only have the sassy black girl. You can only have a black girl who's really nice and really sweet and really smart as long as she goes to an all-white school. You can only have like those things, and then people perceive that in reality too. So they put that on people. So as soon as somebody is smart or whatever, they have those assumptions because they've never seen them as like relatable characters, as main characters. They've never followed their life to see that, like, yeah, you can have a general character, and the fact that they make it seem like, oh well, white characters are like the default, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's not only bad for like white people, because then it's like, oh well, you're basic, you can be anything. But it's also bad for like people of color, because it makes it seem like as soon as you have like any visual appearance of not white, there has to be something else. There's like that extra thing, but that extra thing sometimes takes people away, and it makes them take a back seat of like, well, I can't relate to it anyways, so like they don't feel, or people think that they won't feel inclined to like follow those characters and stuff like that, when sometimes like, okay, like you could put a character in it without going into the history or being like, yeah, black this, black that, or Asian or blah blah. You can do that, but you don't have to. Like you can still like learn about somebody else's culture because like they exist, right? So to be like, oh well, it's like it's forcing it, or it's like color washing. It's like, stop. Please save it. Like enough, because like as much as everyone gets to see them on screen type of stuff, and like we have to consume that media, now we can say like, oh, like, I see a bunch of lawyers that are all white, right? So if I see a white lawyer, I'm not surprised. But as soon as I see like a Latino lawyer, then it's like, what is this? What is this? An outrage, right? Because our brains, like, we're not used to it. Like, we don't see it. And it's just so funny. I was just talking to my dad in the kitchen about it. Because I don't want to get in trouble, but like, I just had a conversation with the program that I'm in about talking about other people's point of views and stuff like that. And even though, because like I'm the only like black person in the program, and something came up, and I was like, hey, it's a little bit like that type of thing, and I want to talk about the fact of, even if the class is all one race, whether it's white, black, Aboriginal, all that type of stuff, the fact that people get to see that other people are in this space is good enough. Like it's good, because then if you see like a Filipino in a musical, you're not gonna be like, what? Like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Like, or like mind blown, like, wow, like Filipinos can sing. Yes, they can sing. There's a lot of good ones. Look it up. But because like we don't get to see that, right? And it puts a crutch on everybody at this point, because then you have like little black girls who don't think that they could be like scientists or doctors, because like they don't see that, or maybe they don't have those influences in their life, and then the media doesn't make it any better. Right? So it's like, not that they don't feel like they belong in that space, but meaning like they feel that it's going to be weird if they are in that space, right? Because you never see it. Or like, oh, main characters, even like fantasy stuff, like knight in shining armor has to be like some golden boy going on adventures, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, like it's a good fictional thing, but like now you're seeing it. You're getting like that main character syndrome. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. I know. I thought it was more of an anime thing, but no, it's a thing. Main character syndrome is a trope that goes into reality, goes into movies, like
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh. Yeah, I went to school for acting as well, and I've been to school 4 times, so yeah. So I went to school for acting, and I was told I was a lead actor because I'm a pretty white girl.
Right.
And it's just like, I just like for me, it was like it was sold as a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I interpreted it as like that was a limit, because I haven't had opportunity to see pretty white girls do the cool things that I want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I grew up during the girl power movement of the 90s. Like,
Right,
like, so it's just like I have this weird connection with feminism, because I was also like, I was grown around people who were rejecting it, while it was being pushed on me by the media. So I just had this like kind of like, I know what I am is bad, but I know I should be proud of it. And I can like, so just through that veil of an experience of like the gender I was raised as that ended up not being correct, and then just looking at other people's experiences. Oh heck. It's just like piling on different intersectionalities into that is just like I'm struggling. I couldn't imagine having like extra weight and everything. So like that's where it like spirals off into different things, and like that's how it's able for like we were talking about this in my class today. I'm in school for social work now, and we were my teacher or my prof is straight white man, and he was talking about how like that is his privilege. He is an educated straight white man, and because of that he's struggled in the field of social work. And I was just like, well damn, that makes sense, because it was harder for him to empathize with people. Like he said like now he's like gotten better and everything, like obviously because he's teaching it and he seems to be good. He's actually one of my favorite profs. All of my profs are my favorite profs anyway. Yeah, just like I don't know, he's just really good and like really careful with what he says, and like you can tell the work that he's put into himself, and him actually like talking about it today just like stuck to me, because now I've been thinking like, what work have I put in? And I definitely had a different point.
What is my effect?
Yeah, because like I definitely had a different point going into that, but I was just like yeah, we're just gonna skip that. I'm so sorry. I've been off my ADHD meds for like 3 days, so I'm just like I am not focused at all. I get them back tomorrow.
All good. It's all good, but I do know what you mean, because at the end of the day, it's a limit. You don't see certain things. You're not gonna think it's normal. It's gonna be like weird or challenging, like for anybody. I'm not even saying like just people of color. It could be a religion thing. It could be just a culture thing. Like I don't see this culture on TV. Do they even exist? Like like that type of thing. Like you don't see that. Like for instance, Canada, you would think that a lot of shows or a lot of media, period, would broadcast the fact that Indigenous people exist and that there are a lot of cultures within it, because Canada is an Indigenous country. Like, like you would think that, but the fact that media doesn't portray that for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, we don't know that. So we put Indigenous all together. Like you don't know that it's separated in so many different cultures, so many different groups. So as soon as you see two and they're put together, you're like, but don't you do the same thing? It's like Africa. It's just like like Africa is not a country.
Yeah.
It's a continent. It's a full out continent with a lot of countries.
Yeah, I was totally raised with that mindset of just like it was of like all the continents were like one, where it was like it was Europe, it was Asia, it was Africa, it was North America, and it was South America. Like that was it, and then there was the Arctic. Like and I was just like, okay, and if you say so. And I just like remember learning, like I didn't know the Middle East existed until 9/11.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. And now because of that, that's the only reason why anybody knows them, and that's the only way it's portrayed now. And that's terrible, 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 because it's so hard, I guess, for writers to get out of that. Like to be like, oh, I have a bad guy, like let's put it there. No, stop. Like you can literally just not do that. It was like Marvel got like a huge Marvel got in so much trouble because Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, she's like from that region, and she was written brilliantly. I loved her, all that type of thing. But in one arc, she ends up sacrificing herself by strapping the bomb to herself. And while it's noble, it's like, wow, she sacrificed herself. The way I was like, are you that insensitive to think like maybe this looks wrong? Maybe I shouldn't do this. And they, oh my gosh, it was so much flack. I don't even think they like they apologized. I don't know if they like took it down or something, but all I know is I read that and I was like, oh, I thought you guys were doing good. And you did that. But it's so bad. Or you have the Asian characters just like martial artist, super duper smart. I'm not saying they're not smart. I'm not saying we're not smart. We're very smart. Okay? And that's not an Asian thing. It's a discipline thing. It's a culture thing. Don't make it like, oh, they're born Asian, so they're smart, right? Like, no, it's a culture type thing. If your culture was strict, if your household is strict and they value that, that's what you're gonna get out of your kids. Okay, like that's what's gonna happen. But when you're only seeing that on the media and not explaining, you just hear like, oh, their parents are really strict, tiger parents, blah blah blah. It's like, it's very one-dimensional, and that's why everybody thinks like, oh, well, you have to be smart, right? You have to do this, right? You must be from China, right? And it's like, no, right? Because they just put a character there, and because like we don't see or have any other establishment and like differentiation, it's just like, well, yeah, that makes sense because that's what I'm used to. And it's like, yeah, but like there's a lot more to that, right? And so it's like, yeah, media is funny.
I grew up, I was told that Pokemon was a Chinese anime, or sorry, it was a Chinese cartoon. So I was just like, okay, and I just like of course I accept that as fact, because why would I not? Because I was 4. Why would I know better? Yeah, I was just like, okay, if you say so. Ash Ketchum can be Chinese. I believe you. Give me a Pikachu now.
And it was funny. I watched Pokemon first in Montreal because I'm born there, and so my Pokemon was in French, right? So like when I say Pokemon, I'm like, yeah, French word makes sense, that type of thing. And then you then like Dragon Ball comes on, it's in English or it's in Spanish, that type of thing. And then you're like, and it's just like, okay, well, no, it's not Chinese. Like I think it's not Chinese, not Vietnamese, it's Japanese. Or like it came to America. And I think that's it's really funny how like Japanese animation, like anime, played such a huge part as it crossed over to the seas, because then you got Pokemon, like Beyblade, you got Yu-Gi-Oh, like you had all these like Americanized type of like cartoons that came out, but nobody thought about like this kind of came from somewhere. Like, why do these characters look like this? It's like, no, they're white. That's why when people watch anime and they're like, yeah, they're white. It's like, well, technically they're not. So it's just like because like we see that you don't establish anything, you're just like looking at like, now it's just like skin tones and like facial, like I guess structure, and it's a cartoon, right? So you're just gonna be like, yeah, that makes sense. I can consume that. This seems palatable. But then it's like, well, you see, it's not the case. That's why cosplay is so funny. Like I was just joking about it because like I love anime, and there aren't many Black characters. There aren't many like well, not that there aren't many. It's just I don't find, maybe from my experience, there aren't many darker characters like South Asian, like the Philippines, like the darker like indigenous type of like Asians. That's a whole different history lesson. But like you don't see that a lot in anime. So whenever a person of color cosplays as it, it's like, they're not Black, they're not Black, they're not Black. So like it used to be a joke to me now. And and it's so funny, no one goes to the white ones and be like, they're not white, they're not white, they're not white. Because it's like, well, I look like the character. That's how the character was drawn. It's like, yeah. And I bet you watched it in dubbed or subbed because it came from Japan and the people are set in Japan. I'm not talking about Attack on Titan, which it's in Germany or something. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about the ones when they establish, like, yeah, they're Japanese. And you have nerve to go to other people and be like, oh, oh, you must be like the black ones. Like no one goes to you and be like, oh, you must be like the white Nagisa. Like no one does that, because just like that's what you see, that's how you take it in. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's me. And it's like, no, like you can't just do that.
Yeah. There's so much racism in the cosplay community. Like I remember like I had friends because like I was in the anime cosplay group, and so like a lot of my friends were just like would have amazing costumes and then say, but it'll never be as good as like the Asians who cosplay Sakura. And I'm just like, cosplay, like it's like you don't
like it's not even about race at this point. Like honestly, like I wish it was like people realize like it's a costume. Like it's not like you're trying to make yourself look Asian, because then if you are, then it's like, stop.
That's
stop.
the problem.
that's the line. There you go. There's the line. Line's here. Okay, you don't pass that line. But like if you want to dress up as that character, fine. But if you're gonna put race into it, don't, because like then it limits a lot of people, and then it makes it seem as if it is about race. Like it is about like, well, you can only dress up as this, or you can only do that. Like I think most of the characters I've dressed as are male. I like twisting it. I'm just like, yeah, let's go. I'm Batman. Everyone's like, no, like, don't you want to be Batgirl or Batwoman? I was like, no. I said what I said. I'm sticking to it, and that's where we're going. Like it's like the more like we police it and stuff, you just take the fun away from it. And especially for people who like already have a small pool as is. Like anytime you see like a black cosplayer, like I follow a lot of them who are like, I refuse to dress as Storm because everyone keeps telling me to do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not dressing as her unless like I really, really need to, and I really, really want to, but because I want to, not because she's black, not because I look like her, not because of any of that. I'm just doing it for me. Ugh.
Yeah.
And that's always an issue, and it plays even more when you go into theater, because like if you play a character who is known to be blank and you are not blank, then it becomes an issue. Like I played Ariel in a community theater, and I left the next year because it was just way too much. I didn't notice how much of a pain that was going to be, because like everybody just couldn't wrap their head around it. It was just like, oh, that was really smart of them. Like that was like a good move to cast you. Like it was like very progressive. And I was like, no, it's not progressive. I worked 5 years for this. Okay. I am not going to be here and people be like, oh yeah, like that was so nice of them. No, I deserved it. It wasn't like, oh, they're being progressive, like, oh, we should like cast a black Ariel. No, they were casting Ariel. And I got casted and double casted because some people didn't agree with it. I was like, bruh. Like so like to see, like to experience that like as like a legit established role who's phenotypically white, and then like see how like kids react, or like the older generation reacts, or how like the competition between me and another actress, she was good as it too, but we saw it differently. Like I couldn't do the same thing she did just based on like how my vocal cords work. I can't talk in a high-pitched voice all the time. I'm sorry. Like it's just too much for me. Or that instance where it's like, Angelica, do you think you can get nude shorts? And I'm like, if you know where I can get nude shorts, you tell me, because I would love to know. Because I don't know where to buy this. Like, yeah, all of you guys can. I sure can't. I gotta paint mine or something. Yeah. But like even like little kids, they would go up to my sisters who are in it, and they're younger, and be like, why is your sister on stage? Like, and they're like, because she's Ariel, what are you doing? And it's just like, but she doesn't look like her, so why did they cast her? It's just like, but Ariel's not black. Or like I ended up finding out that because like we end up, I don't have it with me, but at the end of the show, one of the directors like crochets the character and the person. So like the doll that I had was like a black Ariel. I thought it was dope. I was like, nice, this is cute. My mom was so happy because my mom's favorite character is Ariel, just based on like personal experiences and what it meant to her. So she was like, my baby's Ariel, I'm so happy. And my sister heard the other kids, and she almost like threw them or something. Like she was mad. She heard the kids say like, oh, let's play with the dolls, and like look at mine and be like, ew, or like that one's fake, and like threw it. So my sister was like telling my other sister like, hold me back, I'm about to hit a 5-year-old in the face. Like and it was just like, that's the problem. Like I'm not saying that they have no right to be a little confused. Mm-hmm. Obviously they see one thing, then there's another. Like at the end of the day, the character is that. But the fact that they weren't able to open their mind in the sense of like, somebody else can play it too, right? Like this isn't like established. It's not based on looks. Like sometimes it is. At the end of the day, film industry, theater industry, they might go off of looks. Like they want something. But as soon as they specify, it goes one way or the other. As soon as you say blonde, we all know. I'm not going yet. I don't have blonde in my hair yet. I don't know where it is. Or it's just like, oh, like a dainty frame, or like beautiful like light brown eyes, or blah blah blah. And then if they say the ethnicity, then it's like, I'll get them next time. That type of thing. But you don't see that, right? Like if they don't see it, if people don't see it, they're not going to think. So they're going to police it no matter what. I've been in theater companies that were strictly and only white, just based on the community I came up in. But the fact that it was always brought up, that's what makes people uncomfortable, because then they feel like I shouldn't be in that space. And if I am in that space, there must be a reason. Like no one questions when you see like Stacy in the room. No one's like, yeah, how'd you get here? Like, why are you here? Right? Because that's normal. That's what they see. That's what most people see. But then I'm in it. I get cast in something. Like family scenes are the worst, because I always have to hear. I always have to I have to say a disclaimer. Like, don't talk about my context as a character. Don't talk about it, because I'm just gonna get upset now. It gets annoying, because then it continuously reminds me of like, oh wait, you're playing the daughter, but you don't look like the parents. I know. That's not my fault. I'm sorry. I got this role not based on looks. I got it because I worked for it. That's it. Like, I feel like I deserve to be here. Director obviously feels I deserve to be here. But to always be like, how are we going to work that in? It's like, you're not going to work it in. Do the script. Do the work. I'll bounce off of you. All that type of stuff. But to continuously be like, oh, but like maybe you're adopted. But like how far adopted? Like, does it change the dynamic between you and me as a daughter and mother? And I'm like, no. If you want to go that deep, do it with someone else, because this is a high school production. I don't think anybody cares. I'm pretty sure everybody knows. It's just like, oh yeah, there's that one black kid in the production, and it's like, yes, thank you. Hello. So and then it becomes like a fight of like always wanting to be like the best type of thing. That's why I loved whenever I got leads, because no one could question anything, because it wasn't a family thing, wasn't anything. It was just like, hey, if they're the lead, you can't do anything about it. And you can't like add context of just like, oh, so you're playing the black this? No, I'm playing that. My title is on the poster. That's me. It's me. So it became, so you have to like change from being like the black student in this to like, oh, that was a really cool person that played that. Or like people used to call me by like whatever character I played. Like I was Robin Hood for like 2 years, because like people didn't know my name. They were like, oh, you're Robin Hood, right? I'm like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. So you have to like fight to get, you have to like fight to get out of that, because it's just like, oh my gosh, because it's like, if people don't see it, they're gonna lock onto it, and they feel they have to give a reason. And like sometimes people don't exist for a reason. In my opinion, you can make a reason, like for instance, whether it's like they just kind of got there, maybe they know somebody. Like if you want to go there, fine. But to always feel the need to justify it, that's rude. It's othering. Yeah. I just learned that word recently. It's uncomfortable, because then that person feels like, hey, am I just here for, like you said, like tokenism? Am I just here because like I'm not supposed to be here? Like that type of thing. But yeah, that's the role of, I guess, like the media and what you're exposed to, right? And I'm not going to put everything on the media. It's just that everybody consumes that. So that's what they're going to go off of. Like, yeah, you can go out of your way to like show your kids like, oh no, like your great grandfather was a pilot or all that type of stuff. But as soon as it's entertainment, people don't realize that. People don't take it as entertainment. They absorb that. That's what they have. That's why a lot of moms were mad about video games, saying like violence is going to spike because of video games, because that's what they see and they're going to absorb it. So it's to the point that like they were able to see that like kids absorb this stuff. Like kids, adults, teenagers, doesn't matter where you come from, you're going to absorb what you see. You're going to absorb the stereotypes, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I don't think any stereotype is good because it could be good but bad for them, meaning like the pressure, right? And I use the Asian one the most in the sense of like, well, why are you upset? I'm saying you're smart because you're Asian. One, it discredits them from their hard work. And two, if you're not academically think, you're not a dumb person. Like you could just be good at something else, or maybe your brain just wants to look at something else. Like that's what it's meant to do. Yeah. But then you put that pressure on them, right? So it could be good, like in the sense of intention, like you're smart, like you should be proud of that. Yeah, but that's what adds pressure to it. Like I'm pretty sure like some people might get it enough at home, okay? Like because it might be a cultural thing, right? But to put that, or like, oh, Black people are really good at sports. And it's like, okay, some of us aren't, okay? I remember I had a gym teacher come to me and she was like, Angelica, I think you'd be really good at track. And I was like, how so? Because I just did a 2-minute run. And by 2 minutes, I mean I ran for 30 seconds and have been speed walking this entire time because my lungs can't handle it. She was like, well, no, I feel like it, like there's something in you. And I was like, really, like, because I sure haven't shown this. Anytime we run, if we're playing tag, I stop. Just tag me. I can sprint really, really fast, but that's it. And by sprint, I mean like if I need to. Like I only run if I need to. That's the motto in the house. Even my dad's the same way. It's like I don't run unless I need to. Even the bus, I don't even run for it. I'm like, well, you know. Like that type of thing. But it's just like, oh well, it's a compliment. It's like, well, it's an assumption. It's an assumption, and as soon as that person doesn't meet that, it like takes something away from them. She's like, oh, like, and then people feel like they can police it. Just like, well, are you actually Black? And it's like, just because I don't run or play basketball doesn't mean I'm not. Like I'm still here, melanated as always. Like, like you can't do that. Or it's just like, well, you know him, he's not really like Asian. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Look, Matt is struggling in math. Damn, let him live.
My least favorite terms are coconut and Twinkie.
I've never heard of those terms.
Oh, you've hung around better people than I.
Oh dear me.
So it means when you are brown or yellow on the outside and white on the inside.
Oh like my god, that's not even creative. Who came up with this? I want to talk to these people and be like, damn, I could have helped you with a better term. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, those are. I just hear those and I'm just like what are you like? What attributes are you giving to whiteness? Like, is it the lack of like it's like, oh,
is it the lack of culture? Exactly. I didn't want to say it, but like, is everybody agreeing to this? Is this like, I always want to sit there. It's like, so you agree that? So like you're putting yourself in a box, giving yourself all this credit, but at the end of the day, it's just the lack of something, like that type of thing. And it's just like, but the thing is that, like, especially like if we have to go like opposite side of the spectrum, Black, white, right? If you're Black, smart, into, I don't know, classical music or I don't even know, because I like those things, and I'm like, I don't know. And it should, or if you like articulate really well, I've gotten that. You speak really well. I'm like, I grew up in Canada like you, ma'am. Okay, like that's it. If I actually didn't speak English, I'd be really happy. I'd be like, yes, I've gotten there. but to attribute like intelligence and like couth or I don't know, pride like in yourself to like a sense of like European standards, and that Black is the complete opposite. We don't talk too well. We don't want to take care of ourselves. We don't care about education. I'll have you know, you do a little bit of research about Black people and education, you'll find out that there are a lot of smart Black people out there, and have been. And half the stuff y'all have been using have been made by Black people. That's it. I don't care what anybody says. You want to fight me? I have links. I'm going to make a musical about it at some point. Like, like that's it. But the fact that, why does nobody know that? Because the media doesn't portray that. They portray us as like drug dealers. We can't speak. We don't care. We come from broken families. That's another thing. My sisters have been struggling with that. Like if like they get called to the office or whatever, the first thing they ask of like, who lives at home with you? And as soon as my sister says both my parents, I thought it was more of like, maybe because in general, like the general population, a lot of them are split up, which is sad, and it affects a child. But then you hear what they say after, and you hear certain things after. They ask a lot about the dad. And it's just like, stop it! Stop! My dad's here. Stop it! Stop assuming. Like, and it's even funnier because my mom's Filipino, right? So she's Asian. So it's automatically like, oh, she's docile. She has no voice. It's like, no, my dad is the one who will be like, yeah, I'll let you talk. Like, he's really laid back, really nice, talk to you about anything. My mom, if she hears you do something wrong, she will cuss you out. She won't even ask questions because she's like, I already know. Like, she'll go off. Like, she's not impulsive, nothing. She's just more of like the cut, dry type, which is completely opposite to what people think. And then when she does get to that point, because you do something to her children, for instance, everyone's just like, oh, it must be the husband influencing her. And it's like, has the media gotten to you that much? Is that what you think?
Like, just like for the Filipino stereotype, I haven't known a vast collection in my lifetime, like especially personally. Yeah, that, and I'm not keeping a tally as well. But anyway, my last roommate was from the Philippines, and like she was, so like I learned a lot. And yeah, there's nothing docile about her family. Oh my god.
And plus, it depends, right? Like, that's another thing. As soon as a race is put to them, it doesn't matter where they come from. That's what it is, right? For instance, my mom is born in Montreal, so she's fluent in French, fluent in English, but doesn't know Tagalog, right? Because her family didn't teach her that. She's a second generation Filipino. She grew up in Canada. That's what she knows, that type of thing. Like, that's it, right? But as soon as you say like, oh, you're Filipino, and she's like, oh, so you must know about this, you must know about that, you must know about this. It's like, whoa, I'm Filipino by race. Like, my roots are that. Like, my blood is that.
Yeah.
But like, culturally, like, you can take certain things, but you're not that. You're a Canadian, you're a Montreal, or you're where you are. And like, people forget that you're a product of where you come from. Yes, families do bring over wherever, depending how close, depending if they want to, if they feel the need to, all that type of stuff. But like, no, I'm tired of people going to my dad and being like, so you come from Africa, right? And he's like, no, one, Black people come from a lot of places. He didn't come from that part. He came from another part, and he wasn't born there. Like, he's just, that's what he is. But like, you're not going to be like, oh, like, you're really good speaking English if you find out he's born in Canada. Are you going to question that? No, you shouldn't, but they do anyways, because they think that like, oh, well, the race must play a huge part. It's like, no, it's just phenotypes mostly, and maybe some like good benefits, like I don't burn, like like it plays more of like a technical thing rather than like an overall like life consuming. And another thing that it might play into, and it usually does, is just values, right? Like that's where it comes from, because those are the roots. But to go full out like language, how you see things, what you know how to cook, what you don't know what to cook, how you speak, like to completely pin it. Like no one goes to a white person and goes like, so where are you actually from? They just assume like, okay, well you're like you're from Canada, and we're just gonna go with that. And if they want to know like, oh, you're Ukrainian, okay, do you do this? And then it's like a nice conversation. No. Like no one goes just be like, like where are you actually from? Like, oh well, I'm from like Russia, or I'm Scottish or whatever. It's just like, oh well, do you do this? Do you even know how to play the bagpipes? Blah blah blah. Like there's so many people that police my mom's Filipino-ness because his wife, not his wife, his girlfriend or something is Filipino. And he's like, yeah, I've been to the Philippines. I know how to speak Tagalog. Did you know that this and that? And my mom's like, why am I here? And it's just like, I'm so surprised you don't know that. And he'll like speak to her in Tagalog in front of people so that when she can't respond, they're like, why can't she respond? And it's like, no, he's doing it out of spite. It's just like some people don't know, right? Like it's not like a thing. Like there are a lot of people that don't like continue their language just based on circumstances. Some people don't even have their culture anymore and they can't even speak the language. Like you're going to be so insensitive and be like, well, I'm white and I know more than you. And then you feel like you need to like let everybody know. Then it's like, okay, like nobody does that to you. You're never put in that awkward situation. Like, oh, I realize you have more crow's feet on your right eye. Is it because you have a little bit of Irish in you? No one does that because that's weird. And it's like, it's very nitpicky and it's assuming. It's like, okay, just stop. If you want to know, just ask. Like it's okay, but to go full out, like watch what you say. Like, are you like, where are you really from? Like, where are you born? Like, if you ask where you're born, they're gonna tell you where you're born. If you ask where they're from, they're gonna tell you where they're from. Don't get upset because they didn't say what you think like their ethnicity is. And like just keep in mind, like, hey, if someone tells you their ethnicity, their race, keep in mind that sometimes those things or those assumptions don't always carry on. Yeah, sometimes it does. Like, yeah, we eat rice in the house. It's a culture thing. That's what we do. Filipinos eat rice. Caribbeans eat rice. Like, that's just a thing. Maybe it's an ethnic thing. I don't know. I just realized that, like, it turns out I eat a lot more rice than some of my friends. And it's just like, is it because you're Asian? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Like, that's what we do. But like, not everything carries over, and not every stereotype carries over. And if it does, do know it's not because of the race. Like some people can have like that weird thing. It's just like, oh yeah, white kids run wild. They don't have strict parents. They don't care. It's like, no, like that's not a white thing. That's a culture thing. If that household didn't want to establish anything, that's it. That's where it goes wrong. Asians can go through that. Anybody can go through that if they don't want to establish that, but it's not a race thing. It's just that's what you see. And what's funny is that that's what they tolerate too, right? Because like if you see like a crying white child, it's like, oh, like he's having a bad day. You see a crying Asian child, you see the mom on the side like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry, and like she's seething on the inside. I said to my mom, I was like, you're kind of like a black mom because you let everybody know you're upset. Like you see, just like, stop. You better stop, right? And that's what you see, and you take one situation that shouldn't be tolerable. Like if the child's being like misbehaving, it shouldn't be cute, in my opinion, because that's like how I grew up. But like when white like Caucasians like tolerate that, and they're like, oh, like and they portray that in the media that it's okay or it's funny or it's cute. But if another ethnicity does the same thing, it's not.
Then they're
And that's
out
where
of control.
double standards, exactly. And the double standards, like, oh, we know who's gonna be loose when she grows up. It's like, damn, she just wanted a chocolate bar. Just like let her live. Like, you can have your judgments, but to go full out double standards on it, then it's like, okay, maybe you have to like face your own like prejudices within you of just like, okay, well, what if I was in that situation? Or what if this other person, like, is it a general thing? More than likely, am I making it like specific? That's what you have to question yourself of like, am I? Am I saying this? Like, I'm not saying every culture is the same. Like, everybody approaches different like things differently. Everyone might talk differently. Like, context is taken differently in Japan than it is in Korea. Like, language too, like certain words you can say in English, but then you say it in French and you're like, no, there's a different way of saying that, or like it might be an insult, right? That's when culture becomes very nuanced, and it's just about learning. You're not ignorant in like a bad way. You're just ignorant because you don't know. Like, all of us are like that. I don't know. I don't know the etiquette in Korea, so I'm not gonna go there and get mad at them if they get mad at me, type of thing. Because like, I'm not educated, type of thing. But don't assume, and then for the person to be like, that's not true, and then get upset because they didn't go with what you thought. And I think, and that's the thing with media. Media is run by the people at the end of the day. So if we keep putting it out there that like, oh, well, I don't want to see, or like that small group of people who are like, well, I don't want to see this because it's not relatable, or it's not palatable, or I can't do whatever, it makes me uncomfortable, then we're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Right? And like content creators, right? If you know that you're portraying something that could be potentially bad, maybe it's like, okay, let's approach it a different way. Like, yes, I'm not saying you should never cast martial artists, Asian characters. I'm not saying you can't cast the occasional like gangster, but like, because we've seen it so much, maybe be that one that steps out of the loop and be like, what if we did it the other way? Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah. When it comes to like casting in media and everything, I'm gonna ask a Make Karen Great Again question. Do you feel that as playing the role of Shaniqua, who well, like, not only like first of all, when it comes to the realm of satire, is naming your character Shaniqua an acceptable move because of its history, because we're all working on stereotypical names, or is it kind of rude because it's something we've seen a lot? Where on the line do you think we are?
And it was funny because I had that discussion with DJ. I was actually the one of the first people like he called about like, hey, so I want to make this character. I'd like you to be in it, that type of stuff. And I felt, because of the nature and the purpose of the show, it was acceptable. Because like Shaniqua, yeah, like you think like, okay, it's like a black name, that type of thing. But because of the purpose of the character inside of the plot, I thought it was acceptable. Because at the end of the day, fun fact, like, I don't know if this is like sneak peek, she isn't what you would stereotypically like put. I wanted to work very hard to make sure she wasn't stereotypically like what the media sees and stuff like that. So like, yeah, a lot of the characters based off of me. I'm not saying that like, well, I'm not like black, or like I'm not stereotypical. Like, no, I'm not saying that, but I worked away from that because she already had the stereotypical name. For the look of the play and everything, I feel that it fits perfectly within it, because one, it fits the theme. Everybody has a stereotypical name. It introduces the characters, but to have her as not being satirical, I think that was nice. I wanted to add that, like, to switch her on her head, because everybody else being satirical, not saying it doesn't harm anybody, but the repercussions behind them doesn't harm an entire society and a general population the same way an ethnic group would, right? Yeah. You see a Becky on TV, like, everyone's like, oh, okay, cute. Like we all know that one, that type of thing, but it doesn't harm in the sense, it harms in the sense like, yes, the assuming, like as soon as someone does that, it's just like, oh, basic white girl. Yeah, it's harmful, but not in the sense of like othering, because at the end of the day, Becky is going to see herself everywhere. Becky is going to see herself in those spaces, and she can work against the grain if worse comes to worse, and she'll face the same-ish type of like obstacles that anybody who goes against the grain does. But I feel for ethnic groups, and especially like Black people and Black girls especially too, like I can only speak for that because like that's who I am. Like phenotypically, that's what I look like, and that's what I am and identify as. And I knew that if I went with the satire part, no one was going to get it. And that's the thing with comedy revolving around people of color, because there is such a racial undertone behind it. Like heck, blackface came out of comedy. It was for comedy. Asian stereotypes came out of comedy and like fear and everything. So you can't make a satire around it because people aren't going to take it as a satire of like, oh, that's, I get it. It's not actually like that. I'm supposed to take it a certain way, because that's what they saw. And that's what was funny. Right. And it was, I'm not saying that everybody looked at it like this, but it was funny and people took it seriously. Right. So it became a stereotype. It became, there was no message behind it, nothing. It just harmed that group of people. So to have Shaniqua, even though she has a stereotypical name, but to have her not be a stereotype adds a nice contrast to everybody else in the cast. Because like I only interact with maybe like 3 characters type of thing. And like in those scenes, it's not like based on stereotype, nothing. It's like a real legit moment. And I really wanted to keep my character grounded in the satire, because my name was enough. Yeah. It's enough satire. We don't need to add anything else, because then, yeah, it harms a society. It harms a group of people, just like, oh yeah, typical. That's it. And that's all people are going to take from it. And like, I wanted to, like, even like scenes, if ever I got upset, I had to approach it of like, okay, how am I going to get upset? Right? Because angry Black woman is a thing. Right? Yeah. So I had to keep in mind of like, yeah, like I have a right to get upset. I don't think I get upset impulsively or like however other people want to put it. But I wanted to do it in a way that looked, and like, yeah, maybe I overcompensated, but the composure in the sense and like the reality behind it. So I wanted to make her more firm but sensitive rather than like impulsive, because it's a satire, people are going to grab it and they're going to be like, oh, that makes sense. That must be for a joke, or that must be to prove a point. When at the end of the day, I didn't, this show was not to prove a point. Like when it came to my character is literally there. She's just trying to navigate the rest of the stereotypes. Trying to navigate this family who's like, what? That type of thing. So I think that was like a good, like that was the line. And like satire is a fun, I love satire personally. And it's a funny but delicate thing when you add people of color or any marginalized group, like even the LGBTQ community, I'm not in that, but I can only imagine and assume, which is bad on me, I guess, that, yeah, as an actor, actress, you want to think about that. Like, okay, do I want to perpetrate this stereotype? If I do, is it good or bad? Some of them are good. So you're just like, that's what we are. That's what we do. That type of thing. So that's what we're going to go with. Because that's not going to harm anybody. It's just reinforcing that that's how they are, right? But then there are some bad ones. Then it's like, okay, am I going to put that in this satire so that people can laugh at it? But if they laugh at it, is it going to harm the community, right? Yeah. Because people are going to latch on to that. So it's a nice and like delicate line of sorts. But yeah, I think the name was enough, in my opinion. I thought it was enough. Yeah, when I told my dad, and he was like, Shaniqua. I was like, yeah, it's satire. Like, it's okay. Like I'm gonna play the character in a way that, like, if people do want to take it one way or the other, like, I can only represent people who are going to look at me and be like, oh, someone is in that space, and as soon as they're in that space, they must represent everybody. And I have to live with that. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm representing, like, if someone looks at me and be like, oh, okay, I want to give them something different rather than what they expect, because they're getting what they expect throughout the entire show. So they think like, oh, well, the black girl's going to be funny. Plus, I didn't want, like, black people to look at me and be like, oh, like, oh, another one. Like, they're just perpetrating this, perpetrating that. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Even in the name of comedy, I'm not going to do that. Like, we do that enough. Self-deprecation, we do that enough. We make jokes about our own ineptitudes, all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's funny in certain cases, but then, like, I personally don't like making humor because of where I come from. Yeah, what we do, like, can be funny and stuff like that, but the actual, like, personality, like the hurt and the pain to make that comedy, it's not comedy at that point. And I don't care if it's for satire or for anything. Nobody's pain or uninvolvement or othering or whatever is ever acceptable in my eyes. Like, I don't care. So, but yeah.
I think you're so right. Like, what you're describing is there are terms called punching up and punching down.
Mm-hmm.
So in comedy, it would be if I make a gay joke about myself in a way. Sorry, that's a bad example. Anyway, so God, I wish I had an example right now. I don't do a lot of jokes. Oh, okay. I have a self-deprecating joke. So I just started stand-up comedy, and my therapist was warning me that I should be really careful when it comes to self-deprecating humor, because, like, my self-esteem is a lot like my Christopher Walken impression. It's not very good.
That's fair.
And it's just like a cute little self-deprecating, like, I have a bad impression.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to make it about my friend, it would be punching down on my friend.
Yeah.
So if I was just like, oh, my roommate Bruce, his Christopher Walken impression is just like his self-esteem. It's not very good. It's like, that's just not a joke anymore. That's just like a sad statement about someone who always supports me.
Yeah. Like, that's weird about comedy, because it's like, okay, like, do you do it against yourself? Do you do it against person? Is it something general that everybody can relate to? Like, we just I had a stand-up comedy masterclass this Saturday, and that's where the incident happened. So, like, I had to talk to them about it, because, like, it wasn't funny. It was, well, not that it wasn't funny. I just felt it was unprofessional, what was said and stuff. I didn't, like, it's not that I agreed with the person that they were talking about. It was more of like, okay, you said that you were going to be, like, I think it's objective. Oh, I don't remember which one, but like, she wasn't. So it was like, okay. Yeah. But yeah, like, comedy like roots itself in pain at the end of the day. Like, some of, like, the most hurting people, like, are the funniest type of things. Like, it has a huge establishment in, like, the Jewish community, Black community, like, marginalized community, like any type of thing, because, like, you can find the joy, or, like, people can laugh at that, but then they start laughing at your pain, and you're like, do I make it like that, or do I make it general, right?
Yeah.
So that is a little complicating. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is all, like, where it's coming from. Like for, like, I would, like when it comes to touchy subjects or things, like, I would make, like, a joke about a racist, but I wouldn't make a racist joke.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, so it's like, yeah, don't worry. Like, I did this one. It was like just an ad-libbed moment where I was at a show, and there was, like, an audience member who was, like, telling the host to go back to Africa and, like, horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the host handled it well. Like, he was a champion. Like, I was just like I was in awe. Like, I learned things watching how this man dealt with this, like, just drunk asshole.
Right.
And So, and he's just like, like the one guy's just like, go back to your country. And he's just like, I've been here longer than I was in Africa, so I am in my country. Sorry.
Yeah.
like not even like giving him the time of day, but brushing it off, just like, you're an idiot, and then just moving on. And I was just like, oh, that's a good way to deal with that. So so I go up, and I just kind of like, and I'm feeling uncomfortable because I'm just like, because like I just witnessed all of this, and I just like, I'm just gonna shake it off and just like win the room and just do my set. So I just at the host and his table of friends, who are the only Black people in the room because it's an Ajax. So I'm just like, I'm gonna direct my set at you because you are clearly here for this show. So I just like go up and I'm just like, hi, I'm not gonna make any racist jokes. I just, to be honest, the only racist thing about me is my parents.
Oh my
gosh. And then they laughed, and then I went into my set.
Right.
I think I said the most racist thing about me is my parents, but still.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's...
to like evaluate that.
Yeah, that was just like a situation of just being like, hi, I'm gonna switch the topic.
That was a good segue. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So did they. I was thanked. Yeah, and
there you go.
That was like probably the closest I've come to bombing. Like, it was just not a good time.
Oh man.
But, yeah. Joking, but whatever.
It's always funny because like you have to like read the room, right? Like that's the thing with comedy, especially like stand-up comedy or like comedy that you're doing like in front of people. If you can like read the room, it works so much better. Like I went to a Fringe show, which was a stand-up comedy, but for people of color. So like all of them were Black, LGBTQ, or like straight, whatever. But like we all could relate because we were like, the audience was Black. And even if some of them weren't, they still laughed. And like, not that it was self-deprecating, but like then you're talking about experiences. Like my dad lost it when he was the guy on the stand was saying, so I don't like taking buses. I don't like taking buses. There have been many times where I've gone out at night. I work the night shift and the buses just pass me. I'm like, damn, this place is racist, right? And then he said, he ends up like explaining more, and he's just like, hey, so turns out they're not racist. They just can't see me. Like, because like he was a dark-skinned Black man, and my dad lost it because like he's experienced that, where it's just like, you're so dark you can't be seen. Now, is it racist? No, because the person who is saying it is saying their own experiences and can read the room in the sense of like, everybody knows I'm talking about me. I'm talking about people who look like me, have done it, can put themselves in those shoes. And like, you have to say like, okay, like, who am I? Like, what am I joking about? Because like, yeah, Black people can make Black jokes, okay? Asian people can make satirical, like stereotypical Asian accents for their comedy. Because at the end of the day, it's the look. And they have a purpose for it. So it's not up to me to be like, you're perpetrating a bad stereotype. I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing and why they're doing it. If they want to profit off of other people laughing at him, go ahead. Like, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. Like, yeah, people can have their opinions about like, oh, this makes us look bad. Have your opinion, but they're doing it because they know they can. But yeah, it's going to be racist if somebody else does it. Because then it's like, hey, why are you talking about, like, if, for instance, a white person said it, she's like, man, I couldn't see him because he was so dark. Even if you mean it in the best intentions, it's going to come out wrong. Because like the delivery, it's not about how you say it. The delivery, it's how you look too. Like you can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't do that. Like you can't. It's going to look bad. Like even if you and you have to deliver it properly. Like you gotta give context.
I was brainstorming. I'm gonna give this a shot. This is probably gonna be offensive, but so I am a bus driver, and I feel so bad because at night I can only pick up happy Black people.
Yeah, that's the joke. That's the joke. And it's like, is it racist? Like my sense of humor goes like pretty far in the sense of PC. Like I can could take some humor, whether it's like racist jokes or whatever. Like I can appreciate the humor, but if I think about it too much, then I'm like, oh, I'm hurting. or something like that. You saying it, I know you, I think it's funny. That type of thing. Somebody else saying it, somebody can take it like, I don't think that was your place to say it or anything. Like I don't think that was bad, because that's always the joke. That's the joke, because it's not racist. It's more of like circumstance, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's about taste. And at the end of the day, it's about taste. Like that's it. Like if Black people make fun about like a white person thing, you're always gonna have that one being like, how dare he? And it's like, okay. But then you might have me on the side, like, that was funny, because like I know friends who have done that. Like it's just like, okay. And you can't get mad at anybody, because it's just like, okay, it's a taste thing. As long as like they're not being like blatantly offensive in the sense that they're making fun of somebody else's like pain, right? Yeah. And I think everybody is capable of recognizing when it is deprecating to like a person and a group. Then it becomes like, okay. Like I think you're pushing it. Because now you're not being general, you're being rude, right? So it becomes a little thing, because apparently like self-deprecating comedy actually was like made and like popularized by the Jewish community, right? Because that was their way of like coping and like at the end of the day like profiting from their experiences, because people found it funny for whatever reason. But like they can do that because it's just like, it's their experiences. That's how they cope. People are laughing at it. They can make it relatable. Great. But now the problem in stand-up comedy or some comedy is that other people are profiting from their pain. So they can make Jewish jokes. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't come across properly if you're not Jewish. It just comes off rude. Don't joke about the Holocaust. You don't know. Okay? I'm not saying that the kids know, but they have ancestors that know. So they can joke about that, because
inherited trauma is real.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like that's it. So they should be the only ones that can make those jokes, especially when it's specific. If you want to make a general thing about like a circumstance or something, sure, it just might not translate well, because then I'll be like, okay. And then it can come off as offensive because you're being insensitive to that. But as soon as like you're Jewish or like someone who has gone or has like your culture like has gone through that, that's enough sensitivity, because you know it, you feel it, you learn it, all that type of stuff. You feel the effects of it. So like that's enough sensitivity. You don't have to be sensitive to it, because it's like that's your thing. It's like you have a cut. Like you can make a joke about it, but as soon as somebody else makes a joke about your cut, you're like, damn, like, okay. Then you feel away because you're like, I was like, that was my joke, or like maybe I didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, that type of thing.
Know your audience. So important.
Yeah.
But speaking of audience, everyone has been listening to us for an hour and 45 minutes.
Are you serious? I'm so sorry.
No. I'm not complaining. Like, I've been enjoying this, and I've been following along, and we've answered all of my questions.
Oh man, look at that. Smoothness.
Yeah, like
I didn't even notice. I was actually scared. I was like, oh, there's still more, and I've talked so much. What if I said all my points?
You did. But it is totally fine. Like, honestly, this is not an uncommon issue with the show lately, which is why like it's been, like I kind of mentioned it to you earlier, is like the show's been kind of transitioning and changing, so I'm kind of playing around with new elements of it. So that being said, I am going to start closing the show. So if you have any other statements that you feel that people need to understand and hear when it comes to understanding tokenism, especially in the media, and just dangerous stereotypes, or understanding satire, this is your doorknob moment, as they would.
Okay, I'll talk about satire because that was the last word I heard.
Okay.
Satire is, in my opinion, you don't see it much now because I feel that people don't understand what it is and understand the genre. Like before you watch a satire, one, identify that it's a satire and understand that there's a purpose behind it. Satire is literally the presentation of something, but it's flipped on its head to perpetrate an idea, like the ridiculousness of something or the comedy behind something. And usually it is funny, that type of thing. But like don't jump out the window and be like, it's offensive, it's this, it's that, because that's like the point of satire isn't to be offensive, but it's going to come off as offensive because it's literally the end of the spectrum. It's on its head. It wants to show you all the like nitty gritty of something and make fun of it. Like that's a joke of it. And I don't think this generation, like with the media, like we don't see that often. You don't see satire whatsoever, that type of thing. So like just keep in mind like with this show, and I hope it comes across to people that yeah, we are making fun. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not racist. It's not sexist. It's not homophobic. It's not any other phobic or ist. It's satire. And if you are capable of seeing the purpose under it, and you can see that it's just the fact of making fun of the ridiculous of it, you'll enjoy it a lot better. You'll like just like you could just take it in, and then it can actually give you a chance to like evaluate and be like, am I like that? Like, should I be looking at people like this, or like, man, this is actually a problem like people face, that type of thing. But like, don't look at satire as like a literal, full out like making fun, because then you're not gonna find it funny. And make Karen again, like I've had my doubts in the sense of like, like I don't know if this is like really pushing it and stuff. But like I even had a conversation like in that Zoom meeting where it's like, you know what, like no, it's not. I don't think it's pushing it to that point. Yeah, it's pushing it in this generation because satire, like no one really knows what satire is to that point because it's changed so much in the sense of what's satire to one person to another. And it's like, I don't even think satire is a specific thing. It's a very general flip it on its head. So to show you what this is, we're making fun of it. Let's make light of it. And then what's great about that art is that you can evaluate. It's like very intellectual. You can like consume it and be like, huh, damn. Like that's it. And you'll end up enjoying it so much more with like especially with this series and stuff like that, and realize that like it's not to hurt anybody, it's to make people think. That's what satire is there for. It's to make you think and to make you evaluate the world that's going around you, but in a funny light, but in like a haha, like that's true, anti-vaxxers, so funny. And then you have to sit down like, oh my god, wait. Like this happens or whatever. So it has like a long lasting effect. But if you don't see it as a satire and you don't accept it as that, yeah, you're gonna get offended. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I had to be careful with the hat. The Make Karen Great Again hat. Anytime I take a picture, anything, like I don't want anybody to see it, because then they're not gonna know that one, it's for a show. And they're gonna be like, Angelica? And I'm like, no, it's for a show. It's like, you're making a show about that? It's like, it's satire. It's like, what's the purpose of it? Satire. That's the overall purpose. Like, that's the joke. Like, they're like the purpose is just to look at it, flip it on its head, show all the like nitty gritty of it in a funny and interesting light. Then for you to sit back and be like, they're not wrong. Like, at the end of the day, I can't say anything about Make Karen Again, like with the characters, the situations, because obviously I know more than the audience does. I was kind of in it. But like, at the end of the day, I can't say they're wrong. And obviously that's my point of view, living in this society, the way I look, the way I identify. Like, they're not wrong. They're just showing it in a different point of view. I don't know about you, Rae. I'm pretty sure DJ made sure that nobody was portrayed in a harmful way to the point that it could harm like a group of people, but more of like, yeah, let's like show it in a funny way. Let's put this person in this thing, like, oh, people know this archetype, people know that they've seen this around. Are you gonna get offended because of that? It's like, no, because technically it happened. So if you're gonna get offended because these people exist and that you might be this person and we're making fun, like maybe it's just funny. Maybe it's because like it's just weird. We're not saying you're a bad person whatsoever. Mm-hmm. We're just flipping it on its head. Maybe we're putting like a cynical spin on it, but it's literally just a spin to show the masses of like, hey, this exists, but like let's laugh about it, and then you can evaluate it later. That type of thing.
Yeah, it's just pointing out the absurdity in reality, and the absurdity that Make Karen Great Again is pointing out is ignorance and the absurdity within that. And people like, because like they're like, as we touched on at the beginning, there is a difference between like genuine ignorance of people just not knowing things.
Yeah.
And then there are people actively stopping themselves from learning more.
Yeah.
And they just and I find like with Make Karen Great Again, a lot of the characters are like a mix of people who are changing, learning, and not learning at the same time.
Yeah, it's like a spectrum of ignorance. You have like some people who know and they're not ignorant. You have some people who start out ignorant and then like want to learn but maybe fail to. You have some that don't fail to and they actually learn and end up changing. Then you have, the ones that are like, they don't know and they don't want to know.
Yeah, they're satisfied doing how they are.
They're just like, this is fine. And everyone should believe me anyways. And it's like, no, that's not how that works.
That's how any of this works.
Yeah. but yeah, it's not a thing. And as for like tokenism, that's hard. I think even I struggle to like differentiate if it's like tokenism or like genuine, even in this situation, because like I don't know about my personal experiences. I never know if I should be here or not. Like I was like, was I here because I'm good? Am I here because I'm Black or Asian? Like what's happening?
Yeah.
But acknowledging that it exists and that it can be harmful, that's like the first step. Then the second step is one, not doing it. Just actively be open. Like, damn, you need a quota to hire Black people? Stop. Like just hire the best people that are there. Make it open to people. Don't be so specific about something. Or if you're writing, actively put them in roles that you wouldn't see. Because then when you see it, it'll be like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it's not as weird as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And like, if it's a general character, make it general. Cast whoever. Like, I don't also believe like, okay, well, I'm not going to cast any white people, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying you have to like completely cut them off. They exist too. But I'm just saying, taking that extra step and adding people of color to the narrative and to the stories and to the point of views goes a long way. It does go a long way. And you don't have to establish it. Like, if you want to like specify, like for instance, like Asian is separated in a lot of different countries, guys. So like there's a lot of places. If you want to establish it, great. You don't have to go all in about whatever, but at least somebody can see it, identify the culture, everything. And then you go on with the story. And then everybody can relate, well, not culturally, but just based on experiences. Everybody gets up. Everybody brushes their teeth, I hope. Please brush your teeth. Everybody drinks water. Everybody has gone to school or maybe hasn't, like has different experiences in high school. Everybody has that like weird trope where like you have a crush on someone and they don't like you back and you just kind of have to take the L. Like everybody, like there are a lot of experiences that everybody experiences at some point. It's not professions aren't a cultural thing. Anybody can be an engineer. Anybody can be a singer. Anybody can be a basketball player. Anybody can be like anything. But if you're like writing something, like actively put out there, like actively think, like, okay, am I thinking they're white? And should I maybe switch it? Like, how is this going to change anything? And you might actually find out it doesn't change that much. Like, it might change linguistically. It might change what you put on set. It might change how they dress. But usually behavior-wise or relatability, nobody's like, well, I can't really relate to them because they kind of like wash their dishes with the dishwasher. I know I haven't. Like, I can't relate. Like, am I going to be like, oh, I can't relate to them because they wash their dishes with the dishwasher and my Asian mom didn't let me because she's so strict? No, I'm not going to complain about that because it's just a situational thing and maybe a cultural thing. Or maybe, just maybe, it's just situational. It's just like, this parent says, do the dishes with your hand. This parent says, use gloves. Like, it's not anything. Everybody can relate to it, or at least, even if they don't, they can see it. They could be like, oh, that's cool. Or like, I wouldn't do it that way, but they're not gonna like turn, like, don't turn your eye to it just because you don't get it. Like, sometimes maybe it wasn't for you. That's another thing people have to understand. Sometimes art isn't for you. Wow. Look at that. Like, sometimes you have to identify, like, maybe some parts in a movie, in a song, wasn't made for you. And if you're going to go full out and be like, oh, they just added it for this and this, or for so-and-so. Yeah, they did. They did, because no one else would. That's it. Just let them have the win. It doesn't even hurt you. If anything, you learned something.
That's the problem. They don't like that.
They don't like learning. That's the thesis of this entire discussion. People don't like learning, apparently.
Yeah,
they don't like it. But other than that, like being able to see, like, like, I don't see this group. I don't see this. And if you're a creator, maybe like do something about it, whether like you're white or not. Even if you're like you're Caucasian. I'm not saying like, oh, don't like hire or don't write anything. No, you can. But like, if you have something general, maybe don't put the stipulations like, well, they have to look like this, they have to do this, they have to come from this background, this, and that. Because we do very general things for Europeans type of stuff. Like, we don't go into the fact that like maybe their dad was Scottish and their mom was Irish and like they had the whole war with the Anglo-Saxon, Anglican and Catholic. No one does that. No one does that, even though that'd be cool. That'd be very nice to see. I would love to see that, because like I get to learn about these cultures and like how that history affects like why you don't see like a Jew and a Catholic get married, right? Like, you don't see that because of like the history. But like, what if you did? Like, how would that affect that, or whatever, right? But like keeping that in mind, that like sometimes like it's not like specific, like you don't have to. And because it's not specific, you should be able to put anybody in that narrative, and it doesn't have to be white. Yeah. And stop. I'm not saying like never put the gay best friend. I'm not saying never put the black best friend. But like, please, I'd like to see the roles reversed. I'd like to see like Becky trying to get, I don't know, Connor a boyfriend. Like, that'd be cute. That'd be really, really cute, because it's just like, hey, man. Like, I would love to see that. I would love to see like different people like go together and like see how they're like, if you want to be specific, see how their cultures like mesh or like don't mesh, and like how they overcome it. I would love to see that. Everybody would love to see that, because it's new. So like, we just gotta stop doing the same old cookie cutter default whatever type of tropes and stuff, because like they're harmful. We don't want to see it anymore. We don't care. Like, we're bored. Absolutely. And it's not even catering to the new generation. You're catering to the ones who are a little bit older, who are stuck in whatever ways, like, not that they're bad ways, but being like, that's what they see, so we should see it too. It's like, no, a lot of like the younger generation, like, we're like, what if we saw something different. Like that'd be nice. It would be nice to see. That's why I like horror movies. When Jordan Peele, all black cast, and like you always put like, oh well, you know, the black person dies first. It's like, well, they're all black now, so like, what are you gonna do? And people thought it wasn't palatable for like black audiences because like we didn't like horror movies. Like we don't like like culturally, you might hear like stereotypically, we don't like horror movies. Was it because of like history? Maybe. It's scary enough. We're fine. Is it because in the media we were always shown to die first? So it was like, why do I even care? But then to have someone like write an entire one, which is general, like everybody was able, like if their tastes allowed it, not racists. I mean like taste-wise, like if you like those type of movies, like everybody was able to enjoy Us. If you liked the movie, it didn't matter if you were like, it didn't matter about race. It was a good movie. And I'm being like very opinionated. I loved that movie. And I don't like horror movies. I'm not saying because it's black, nothing. I'm just like, it was a good movie. But the fact that you were able to see different faces that you don't see in a horror movie survive, one. But two, like just to watch it drive itself was very nice. That's why I hate when people are like talking about like, well, Black Panther was like a very bad movie. It was literally only made for black people. Fine, taste-wise, you don't like it, fine. I think your opinion means nothing to me at that point because I'm very biased. But it meant a lot for black people because we were able to see it, even if it wasn't a good movie. I thought it was a great movie, and a lot of us thought it was a good movie, but maybe the effect of it added to it, and because we were able to relate to each and every character that was in it. And maybe because like I've had someone like say like, oh, it was very, I didn't really like it because it reminded me of like the whole like Trump and Wall issue. And I was like, how did you get Killmonger, Black Panther, Wakanda, and associate it with Trump? But maybe it was a taste thing. Maybe like the message didn't come across because if you don't come from those experiences, you're not going to understand. But the story overall wasn't black. It was still a general Marvel movie. And like, Marvel movies kind of follow a good sequence. Like you kind of know what's going to happen, that type of thing. But like we were able to see it and you could see yourself. And the fact that like, like rest in peace, like Chadwick Boseman played a huge role in a lot of like kids' lives. Like black kids are just like, my role model is Black Panther. And everyone's just like, oh my gosh, it's only because he's black. Yes, it is. It really is. Why? Because people are fiending and starving for representation and just like overall knowledge, like knowing. Like, I'm sorry, I love learning about new cultures, even if I don't like know about it, as long as it's not like hurting anybody. Like, like you look up history and you're like, like I didn't know the Philippines was colonized 3 times. When I found that out, I was like, oh, ow. Like, that sucks, man. But it doesn't mean I'm never going to, like, want to see, like, different people's culture and stuff like that and learning about, like, those things. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I can't relate, so I shouldn't watch it. It's just like, so you only consume media to relate? You mean to tell me you go through life never wanting to learn? Like, that's not living. If you're not learning, you're not living, in my opinion. Maybe that's just, that's such a Shaniqua thing to say. I'm going to put that on my social media.
I love it. Oh,
by the way, Rae, I have to make I have to make it. I didn't do it yet.
Okay, you're only 2 days late.
Man.
Honestly, like, don't even feel bad. Becky and Barbie are the only ones with their social media running, and I think that is also suiting to characters. It's like, of course, Stacy and Chad haven't done it yet.
Oh my gosh. And mine is just like I haven't been able to. I accidentally took on a project, and I was like, and then my manager was like, "Do you want to work?" I was like, "Yeah." I have like loans to pay, so I guess so. And then I was like, "Oh, now I'm working." So I have to like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll like start it. I'll like email you and be like, how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah, awesome. I'll help you out with all of that. No problem at all. But
Perfect.
I'm gonna end the show though because we just went off topic.
No problemo.
Yeah. So, thank you everyone for coming out, listening to us for 2 hours and 5 minutes. Wow.
Thank you.
You made it. You made it through the whole thing, and I hope that you have been just as entertained as we have. This is Serious and Sober. I've been Rae Lockdust. I will still be Rae Lockdust next week, but this is Angelica Reid, and
It's me.
maybe she'll be back. We'll see.
Love to be back. I'm free until I'm not.
That's a good way to put it. And I am hoping to have more Make Karen Great Again Serious and Sober crossover episodes that will include more characters than just the main family. Woo. So we'll see about that. But that is a baby plan that I literally like just thought of as soon as you came into the Zoom call. I was just like, oh my God, I need to do more episodes. Like it was just like it wasn't even like anything you said. It was just like your presence just like hit me in the head. I was like, oh, I was like,
right. That's fair. Right, because I'm not part of the main family. I'm like an extension.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I reminded you. It's okay.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, like yesterday it was just like Stacy, Becky, I said Shaniqua. You weren't there.
No. I watched like 10 minutes and then I had to go do my script and stuff. And I was like, oh.
That's totally fair. I do recommend watching it though, because again, we're hilarious and I loved every minute of doing that show. It was so fun. And that one somehow managed to stay less than an hour, which was amazing because like I'm so bad at letting these shows go long.
That's fair. I'm sorry. I like talk a lot. Like once you get me going, and I haven't spoken to anybody in like weeks. Like I just had this inside of me and I just want to tell everybody. I always want to like educate and be like, I have knowledge. You could take it however you want, but I'm literally doing this because I care.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And like sidebar before we leave, I am going to go off and say on my own assumption, I don't think that you were cast as Shaniqua just because you're Black.
No, I know.
Okay. I just like from what I know about you, from what I know about DJ, it is 100% him writing a character and thinking, I know the perfect person for this.
Yeah, and plus I worked with him before, so it was just like very convenient.
Yeah, it was honestly our casting is so perfect.
Yeah, it's so good.
But
I didn't even get to meet everybody. Ooh.
Well, we'll have more Zoom parties. I haven't even met everyone yet, so that's fine. Not everyone emailed me. I'm gonna stop complaining about it and say, hey everyone, thanks for watching Serious and Sober. Thanks for listening to Serious and Sober. And